Hey everyone, I'm Matt Cremona.
And I'm Matthew Morris, and today we're here at Milton Swan's shop. Milt, say hi to everybody.
Hello everyone.
And we've got a really great episode. Why don't you get us kicked off here, Matt?
So Milt, why don't you tell everyone watching who you are, what you do, and all that fun stuff.
Again, my name is Milton Swan. I've been sort of a woodworker all my life, but more as a hobby. My grandfather worked in wood, so as a kid I was in his shop, but it always was just kind of in the background for me. All during high school and in college, I made model airplanes, competed nationally, and that kept me in the wood side of the business, but not building furniture or anything like that. After college, my background is as a mechanical engineer, but primarily with specialty in physics. And during college, I started building speaker systems for the people that I knew and so forth and so on. That got me into the wood electronics side of it. Anyway, long story short, had a lot of other careers, been a lot of different things, ended up in the sales side of several businesses, but woodworking was always like therapy for me. I would go back and build stuff, and eventually I ended up with some clients or customers who had me build things for them. And I finally came to the point where I got so sick and tired of wearing a suit and, doing all those kind of things that woodworking just kind of came to the surface. During the same time, I became a professional photographer also. So for whatever reason, those two things completely fulfilled me. And so what happened was I started getting several different projects that I was building for clients, and there were certain tools that I needed that I'd go and buy them, and they just never worked out the way I wanted them to do what I needed them to do.
Right.
So I designed my own tools. This is basically what started happening. And as a matter of fact, the first tool that I designed was this. This is what we call a crab claw clamp. Looks like crab claws, and it works on basically the same principle. And I won't get into all of that part of it, but the development out of that came to this as the production model. And if anyone's ever used a Jorgensen clamp, and I guess everyone does, they're accustomed to having a clamp that has handles sticking out of both sides, and you stick it in your vise, and for some reason it hurts you at about 35 inches from the floor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted a clamp that basically didn't have those long handles, that was thin enough that when it was in the vise, that the controls were smaller than the thickness of the clamp, so that you could adjust it while it was in the vise.
Right.
Okay, and so that was, one of the main features, and this was back in 2006. I designed it in 2006, and this original one like this, and it didn't have the features that I was just talking about, but as you can see now, all of the controls are thinner than the clamp itself.
Right, but this was the beginning.
That was the beginning. That was number one. And it went from that to getting into marking knives. This was the number one design, and I'll kind of cut down the commercial and just tell you what happened. Is that I ended up having a couple of assistants that came and worked with me, and when they decided to move on, they said, well, Milt, would you make us a set of the tools that we've used in your shop?
Okay.
Okay, and I did, and they went on and did what they were going to do, and about a year later, they came back and said, hey, I've got another buddy that would like some. And that moved me into the business of making just these two tools.
So you mean the marking knife
and the clamps.
And the clamps.
And the various varieties
of the marking knife.
Of the marking knife. Okay, and so what happened was I ended up getting invited by another woodworking friend to one of the Lee Nielsen shows. And I went down and I saw what they were doing, and I got excited, and I said, wow, I need to go back and see these people. So my home is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I live in Los Angeles. But what happened was I had to go home for some family issues, and I ended up renting a car and driving up to Maine. And
this is a great story, Matt, by the way. Milt was telling me this before we got the camera. This is a really awesome story. I'm sorry, Milt, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, I drive up to Warren, Maine, and I pull in the parking lot at Lee Nielsen's place at about 7:30 in the morning. And I'm excited. You know, it's like I'm going to the candy store, right? And I'm sitting there in the car and waiting for 8 o'clock at 7:30, and about 10 minutes to 8, this guy walks up and taps on my car, and he says, why don't you come on in and have some coffee? And I was like, okay, oh, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, it happened to be Tom Lee Nielsen. And we go in, and he's turning all the lights on and everything. He's the first person there. The net of it all was that he spent a couple hours with me. He gave me a full cook's tour of the place, including his approach to advertising his product, his approach to quality, the idea that the tools that most people work with that are hand tools really do not function to the level that they should. And so that was his concept, his if you will, foundation for the way he wanted to make his tools.
Right.
And so when he took me through his process of everything that he makes, including the heat treating and all of that kind of stuff, it's like, why didn't I have a tape recorder going? It's one thing. But anyway, we finish that. I go back out to the car. I drive about a mile down the road, and I sit there and write down everything I could possibly think about. And it was just so exciting to me. One of the key things was the way that he sharpened his blades. And if you haven't been there, it's a whole different thing. But he uses a piece of 3x3 by 36-inch long steel bar, perfectly flattened on a grinder, and then he puts sandpaper on it. And he has 4 different of those bars, starting from like 220 all the way down to 1200. And that's his sharpening process. I mean, well, of course, the blades are ground first,
right,
like 30 degrees. But anyway, I was just amazed to see a large, what I considered a large manufacturing company doing all these things by hand. And then I realized that's what I wanted to do, because I actually enjoy not just the design, but the making of the parts.
Right.
Okay, and the artistry and the engineering mixed together are the things that, that's sort of my therapy. It keeps my life going for me.
I hear you.
So anyway, so we went from that, sold a few tools, and then moved into bow saws. I have marking gauges, panel gauges. I have straight edges. We make benches now. This is what we call our modern bench. It's 48 inches long, 17 inches wide, 35 inches high, but it's adjustable in height to the individual. It doesn't have a vise on it or anything like that, but we have a very unique vise, and I'll show you that a little later.
Okay.
It's really just a bunch of wedges, and it does things that large bench over there can't do, or doesn't do well. And so this ends up being my demo vise wherever I go anywhere, and I'll sell someone one of these or give them plans they can build their own. I've had a couple of guys that got started building their own and decided, why not just buy one? So it all worked out very well.
So can we talk about the knives for a second?
Sure.
Now, Matt, both of us, we like to use marking knives in our work, and I happened to, when I met Milt at the Woodcraft show earlier this year, I purchased, you make this now with a maple handle, right?
With a maple handle.
And
right.
a Bubinga case.
Bubinga case, right.
So I got this with the thinner tip. You also do one where it's not just one angle, but
it's what we call our dagger point, like that.
Yeah, the dagger point one.
Right.
And I bought this thinner one too. These are fantastic. This one's amazing. This one's great too, but it's so flat over its length. This is really awesome. Yeah, so What are you're using? What type of knives are you using right now, Matt?
Nothing fancy. I've got this is the one I use the most. It's the the cheap Veritas one, because it has that thin narrow blade.
Yeah, I have one of those too, but I'm telling them these are great. It's a thin blade, but it's so flat along its length, and then you can come both right and left-handed if you're marking stuff out. I use this a lot on the rocking chair, the Gamble rocking chair, and the coffee table as well recently.
What we call this is our deluxe model. The blades are interchangeable, and we have dagger blades, we have left hand, right hand blades, and as a matter of fact, my next set of blades will actually be for carving knives, so that someone who's into carving will be able to use the same handle but get high quality blades.
So what goes into making one of these, Milt?
Well, the blades, all of my blades are A2 steel, and I have a supplier that supplies it in the 3/4 inch material,
Right.
and I get it in 1/8 inch and 16 inch thicknesses, and it comes 36 inches long, and bring it here, and I cut it off into the lengths. I then grind the angle that the shape of the blade.
Gotcha.
Okay, on a large grinder.
Right.
And then I grind a 30-degree bevel on the edge.
The cutting edge.
The
Okay.
cutting edge. Okay, but not the actual finished cutting edge, because now once that's done, then I have to stamp the name on the blade, and I package all that up and I ship it off for heat treatment. Once it's heat treated and comes back, you can't stamp it. There's nothing you can do to it other than hone the edge. So then what I do is hone the final cutting edge onto the blades, and they're razor sharp. You could shave with them.
Right. So you're doing everything here except for the heat treatment and the cryo.
Right.
100% everything else.
All the polishing, everything, yeah. It's all done right here. And the larger blades take about twice as much time to grind just because of the thickness. They're double
Right.
the thickness. But yeah,
And how about all the brass and everything is shaped, cut, polished?
right, all here. If you look up there, there's a tube like this. It's about a 6-inch diameter tube.
Right.
It has 10-foot length of brass tubing in it, and we cut them off. We stamp them. Then we, break all the corners, and then polish them. And that one's hasn't been polished in years.
It's okay. It's a beautiful
number one.
piece.
That's number one. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's my baby.
So from here, then what did you grow to next? You had the clamps and then the marking knives, right?
Yeah, the clamps started out. Let me grab one.
Sure.
As I was saying, we started out with number one like
Right.
this, and redesigned it so that all of the controls were within the thickness of the actual clamp. And then the original production of them were like this. When I say original production, what I mean is the first 200 or so that I sold in various sizes. After a while, I realized that a lot of people want to hold dowel rods and various things like that, so I modified the clamps.
Yeah, you got this V groove in
Have a
there.
V groove in it, right? And now you can clamp anything round in it, and so they continue to evolve into whatever the industry is going to need, and that's sort of the joy when you can go back and look at a product that you've made,
Right.
and then make increased development out of it that adds value for the customers to use. So anyway,
So the wood here, this is maple.
right,
And then what's the handles?
lacewood.
Lacewood. And you like using lacewood a lot.
All of my tools that have handles, with the exception of this marking knife, have lacewood handles. Some people are allergic to lacewood, so I impregnate the wood with a resin, so that if you have that sort of allergy, it's not a problem. But
Oh, wow.
they're beautiful, and they age well, and the more you use them, the more beautiful they become. because the oils from your skin and everything just
Help
put the
condition it.
patina.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just wonderful.
So what did you evolve to next?
Okay, from the clamps, I got into making marking gauges, panel gauges, and
Do you have any of those today?
sure, I do. Our next product after the clamps was the panel gauge. And it was exciting to me because I really didn't know what a panel gauge was. And someone spoke to me about one, and I ended up doing some research, finding out what it was for, and I said, I need one of those for me.
Yeah.
So I built one and enjoyed using it so much that I said, well, let me make a few and see if anybody else is interested. And there are some subtle things about a panel gauge that I didn't realize until my second production run. And that is that the blade itself has to be at a little bit of an angle.
Inward,
Otherwise,
right?
when you run it down your true edge on your board, you don't want to follow the grain. If you're just a little open on your angle, it just holds the brass edge against the wood. So it's little subtle things like that that you come to understand. So then we made the marking gauge, okay, and because it's used for cross grain, you don't have to have the blade at a little angle or be skewed a little bit. So it was exciting to build that guy, okay, and it's made out of multiple pieces of wood so that it has a little bit of artsy craftsy look to it. Right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. Both of these are beautiful. So you have this L-shaped brass in here. Is that brass or bronze?
Brass.
Brass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figure that if someone, first off, understands what a tool like this is supposed to do, they're going to want to do it until they can pass it on to their children or their grandchildren.
Absolutely.
So that's why, if you notice, most of my tools are made out of stainless steel and brass and quality lace wood and all kind of figured maple and various woods, such that if you have tools like that, I think it makes you build better, because why have tools like this and build stuff that is valueless? I mean, it might be personally valuable to you.
Right.
I'm speaking to people who are building things for other people. And one of the things I think that enhances the value of a craftsman is when a client walks into your shop and sees the tools that you use, he assumes that you know how to use them. So if you not only use them, but you take care of them, and they're beautiful, and later when we talk about a tour in here, I'll show you some hand tools, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Because every time I have a client come in here, and they want me to start teaching them about woodworking, I said, no, I'm building something for you. We'll do that later. So that's what happens. But anyway, we went from that into this product here, which is very dear to me. This is probably my most dear product, and it's just a little tack hammer. But the story behind it is that my great-grandfather was a blacksmith in Virginia, and this is a bit of a story, but you just have to bear through the whole story. He was a blacksmith in Virginia. Our background is Native American, Cherokee Indian, and African American.
Okay.
In his blacksmith shop, one day a gentleman came in a carriage and wanted some work done and so forth and so on, and he wanted to tell my grandfather how to do it. My great-grandfather basically said, if you're hiring me, I'm going to do it my way. Well, the guy ended up taking a whip and started beating my grandfather. My grandfather beat the guy up, and he had to leave town. So he ended up moving from Virginia up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When he got to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he went to work for the Bethlehem Steel Company.
Okay.
Okay? And after a while, they realized he was more than a blacksmith. He was a self-taught metallurgist. And he ended up basically amalgamating stainless steel, which Bethlehem Steel Company is known for, if you will. Long story short, because he was a mixed-race person, the company would not allow him to patent what he did. So they patented it, but they set up an annuity, And therefore, my grandfather and my father were able to go to college on that annuity. And so it was very
amazing.
interesting. So my great-grandfather made hammers like this in various sizes in steel. I can actually show you his because I keep it in there when we talk about other tools. We'll do that.
Cool.
So I basically copied his hammer, okay? Because it's my great-grandfather.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And our customers like it a lot. And you notice the lacewood handle.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful piece.
Right.
And so you do all the shaping here?
Everything right here, right?
The stand, I mean, it's gorgeous, Matt.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous because you actually get to touch them all.
Well, you can buy them all if you'd like for a small discounted price of $10,000 for the whole set. Just kidding. No, so you all the shaping and everything,
Everything's
Milt?
done here. Right?
Wow.
That's just incredible.
And here again, one of the other things, let me show you. Most people, again, want to buy one of these to just set up somewhere and not use it. And I asked them, I said, do you even understand what you do with a tack hammer?
Right.
Most people don't know what to do with this end of it. Okay?
Well, that's me. I don't know what to do with that end of it. So what do you do with that end?
You hold a tack or a small nail, okay? And you put it where you want it. And you actually take this and you hit between your fingers, and it hits the head, and it starts the nail in.
Oh.
Then you turn it over to the other side and finish driving it in. And like I say, a lot of people just figure hammers are for beating stuff up, and it's not. It's a very delicate tool if you use it properly. So that's
a gorgeous piece,
background
Milt.
on that. We went from hammers to scratch on it. This is one of my demo pieces. Anyway, dovetail gauge. It's Coca-Cola and brass.
Yeah, everybody.
You can slide it across the end grain of boards until, the cows come home, and you will not remove the surface off the wood.
It looks like there's two angles on here. Is that correct, Milt?
Yep, yes it is. You can use it either way. It just depends on whether you're making large dovetails or small dovetails. And most people prefer a 7-degree dovetail, but I give them some options, and I will make it custom for you if someone has some special angle that they want.
So what's on this one right here?
This is 7 on one side and 9 on the other.
Wow.
From that, let's see. We then went to this tool here, which is what I call a multi-tip screwdriver. I've owned Lee Nielsen's screwdriver like this for 6-7 years, and I love it. But his has a standard handle on it, like a chisel handle. So if you're using it and you need to pick up more screws and set it down, if your bench isn't perfectly level, it rolls off and falls on the floor. So I went back to the old Sheffield style handle that in England that everyone used to carve their handles that way, and made mine that way such that when you lay it on the bench, it stays right where you put it.
Yeah, it's kind of got this mushroom shape to it. But that makes sense. So you put it down, it can't roll.
It won't roll off.
It's smart.
And this, I decided to use cherry because I have an abundance of cherry that I built most of my furniture for clients out of, and all the little cutoffs ended up becoming handles.
Cool. And you do, and it's just a regular tip, so you can get the tips at...
Standard tip. Standard tip. You can get, it comes with 3 tips, but some people have, a dozen different ones that they like, and so it'll fit in that.
Yeah, this is really awesome, guys. I mean, it's the smart design process. It's okay, if it rolls off, I don't want it to roll off anymore, what can I do?
Right.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then benches. I made that bench originally right after I came back from Warren, Maine, because it was my version of a European bench along the lines of what Lee Nielsen was making, but with some other features to it.
So tell us about this bench, Milt.
Okay, first off, you're looking at a bench that weighs probably 400 pounds.
Wow.
Okay. In addition to that, if you'll look down at the feet, you'll notice that it also, the bench is locked into little corrals, more or less. So it cannot possibly move unless there's a California earthquake or something like that. But some of the features that were important to me in a bench like this, because I only wanted to make one. You know, I didn't want to come back later and do something else.
Unless people want to order one from you.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, we make this bench for people. We also make that bench, and we'll talk about that one a little later.
Great.
But some of the features in it are that it all opens up so that you can clamp at various places. Have your clamps come through and hold things. Because the thing I did not want to do is drill holes and use bench those what do you call the thing you hammer in and it
Hold fast.
hold fast. Yeah, I just didn't want to do that because I do not do a lot of carving. Most of the things that I do are pieces of wood up to about 36 inches, and the real long stuff, I usually do between benches or across benches and things like that. So anyway, that was important to me, that all parts of the bench come apart so that you have access to do whatever it is that you need to do. The other thing was having a planing stop that
It's adjustable.
totally adjustable. In other words, it can be down to a 1/16 of an inch all the way up to about 4.5 inches. Okay, and that was important to me because one of the things that I have another one of these that has a brass top on it, just like the piece that's in there, so that I can put a piece against this and use the brass as a guide, if you will, for thicknessing. Okay, so that was something that was necessary for my own purposes. Now, everyone who makes large benches like this usually has a planing stop on it, but it doesn't do what that does. Another thing is that I made leather inserts. If you notice,
Yeah.
my main vise has leather inserts, and these are the two inserts that go in here. Because
That's thick leather.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm holding pieces that are almost finished, and the last thing I want are marks added to it. And once again, I use lace wood just because I like the look of it. It just feels good to me, and that's what I do.
Now we're over here too, and you got some
Yeah.
squares.
Right, yeah, this is a new product that I'm making. It's available now. We have a 7-inch model and a 12-inch model. And most people end up with a metal square, which is very accurate, which they need. But for general layout work, you don't have to be close or that close. And a lot of times I'll use these with a piece of chalk when I'm just laying the boards out.
Yeah, you're roughing.
Yeah, because the thing that's going to make them perfectly square is either, on a shooting board, or, I'm going to cut and then use a plane and make them square. So just for layout purposes,
Right.
I've used those items.
Yeah, these are gorgeous here, Matt.
That's nice. Look at that. Everything's so nice.
Yes, absolutely.
So, it's, and they're pinned with a brass tube through them, so, and they're glued. So it's kind of permanent. But the beautiful thing about this, you can hang it on a nail,
Oh, okay.
a headless nail through it. So, it's just, once again, tools to me are like good friends. And if you put the value into them, you get the value back out. For me, being that my shop is at my home, when I get up in the morning, have a little breakfast my wife gives me or whatever, and I come in here and close that door and turn these lights on, I'm in my own world. Mm-hmm. And these things are part of my world. And I find that most of the clients that I have are people who have that same appreciation of things. And so it makes me feel good. It's a small business. When I say a small business, Fortunately, I'm retired, and but probably I do $17,000 to $28,000 a year in actual money that I can spend.
But you love it.
I love it. Yeah. Can it get large? Absolutely. Would I want it to get large? Yes. I have 2 sons that demonstrated an interest in the business, but they've gotten into their own thing. So I'm kind of at that place of I'm doing this for me, and so
Well, I appreciate it.
It's good. It's good. It's good. I love it. I love what we're doing. I enjoy the fact that just about every place that I go, whether I'm teaching a class or selling tools, I get invited a lot to various clubs as a guest speaker and talk about this and talk about the philosophy of producing things by hand, and all that. I'll use the word adulation, even though that's not really what I mean. Just the fact of finding other people who appreciate that and want to do that and allow me to in some way be a mentor to saying, it's okay, do it. So that's the thing that I enjoy about just all of this. The other side of it are my clients that I actually build furniture for, which was the primary business. I build custom desks, I build conference tables and things like that, sort of high-end stuff from people who were clients of mine in my other world that I was in. And it's just very enjoyable to meet an attorney or a doctor or someone who's retired and always wanted their own personal desk or whatever,
Right.
to sit down and design it. And design it to their height, their arm lengths, all of the little things that make it personal to them. And then I start building it, and for whatever reason, they always start showing up and want, well, can I help you do this, or can I just sit and watch? And I'm like, you want me to get done? If you want to watch, I'm going to have to charge you for that. Okay, and I'm going to have you pay for the insurance for being in the shop.
Right.
You cannot use the tools. You see that sign over there?
Don't touch them, don't move them, don't borrow them, don't even look at them.
Right.
That's the tool rules, Matt.
That's it. So that's kind of where I am as a person in life. I'm like I said, a retired person. This is what 74 looks like.
These are, well, it's a good 74 because these are absolutely gorgeous. Now, you said you have this modern bench as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to move the camera for a minute, Matt, and then take a look at this modern bench. Now, this is really cool, guys. I've seen Milt put this together and take it apart, so you'll have to show us some of these really cool features.
Okay, this is what I call a modern age bench. After using a European style bench for a long time, I made the initial mistake that most people do by putting it against the wall. Okay, when you put a European style bench against the wall, you end up putting junk on the back side of it, and you spend half of your time moving stuff out of the way just so you can use your bench.
No comment.
Right. Okay. Same thing with a tool tray. When you're finished with a tool, you put it back. You wipe it off and put it away, right? Okay.
Yes, I have a bad habit.
Yeah, that's how you end up knocking stuff on the floor, and if you have a concrete floor, you break your tools, right? Okay. So, this bench, 48 inches long, 17 inches wide, and the height is adjusted to the individual, generally it's somewhere between 34 and 36 inches high, depending on who you are.
Okay.
And Chris Schwartz will tell you how to figure that one out. Anyway, this bench does not have a vise on it, okay? And so I made special clamps that hold the boards.
Wow.
For an example, if we're going to put a board like this and you're going to plane it or whatever you're going to do to the board, it goes on this way.
I got it. So this would be a great bench for somebody who doesn't have a big amount of space.
Right, and if you're in an apartment, or if you're a full-blown cabinet maker, I use this bench probably more than I use my large bench. But then again, I'm doing prototyping work primarily on this little bench for tools.
And it's got dog holes.
Yeah, well, I'll get into all of that in a minute.
Okay.
But like this, you can put any length board on this with these particular clamps, and then you can do your planing, you can do chisel work, whatever you're going to do with the grain of the board. Okay. Now, if you're going to do dovetailing, you take these two clamps, put the board this way, and the clamps go on at an angle, like this.
Oh, okay.
To hold the board so that you can do whatever you're going to do. I mean, and it's sturdy, and it works. Now, everyone, when they see this, they say, well, what if I want to do some other things? I say, well, let me show you some other features. Okay, one of the other things that you can do is you can plane against planing stock, which is on the end, which is similar to the one that's on the large bench. So you can lay your board down, and plane.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're doing surface. Now, one of the other features though about this bench that I like a lot, the bench dogs. Okay, actually let's get down to this one here. Put a bench dog up, not all the way to the top because you're going to, let's say, plane on the surface here. Now you have my little $3 vise. Okay, pair of wedges. The secret. That's the sacred secret right there. You can't move that.
That's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. And now you can plane, you can chisel, you can do whatever. Especially if you're doing mortise and tenon work on a leg or something like that, just lay it on here and away you go. Being this is 48 inches long, most legs are about 36 inches, so you can do it right on the surface.
Right.
Or you can just put it against the bench stop or the planing stop and then gain more distance if you want to. So that's one of the features of this bench, and it saves you about $400 in one vise or $800 in two vices, if that's what you wanted to do.
Now, I've seen you take this apart too.
Go to the other end.
Sure.
Just lift it up.
All right.
Straight up. Okay? It's a perfect fit, so the top doesn't slide around on you. Wait, you
sorry.
both go down at the same time.
My bad.
There you go.
Yeah, there's no movement here, guys.
Yeah, and all of the other parts come loose. They've got bolts and nuts. It's got 48-inch long, 3/8 screw thread, the whole length with.
So you can tighten it for the
nuts on one.
seasonal changes.
Yeah, you can make adjustments in it, wherever. And like I say, this is about $1,700 if I build one for you. If you go out and buy all the materials and everything that go into it, you're going to spend about $700 in materials, and you're going to spend probably 2 weeks building it if you've never built a bench before. So what's your time worth? So that's sort of the comment. You make the point about selling the plans. I've given away probably 50 sets of plans, and I've had 7 people come back and had me build benches for them. So
I got you. Ready to return.
yeah, so it worked out very well for me.
So now, how about the larger bench? What does that sell for?
That bench right there is $2,700.
And this was?
This is 17.
Okay, so 1,000.
But hold on.
Okay.
That's without the vices.
Ah.
Okay, you tell me what vices you want, and we buy them whatever the market price is on, then I'll
For the
install
hardware.
them on it. Right. So by the time you're done with a bench like that, you're probably $3,700, $4,000.
Gotcha.
But it's massive.
It's a beautiful bench, Milt. It's not going anywhere either. That's it.
Yeah. But like that one, like I say, is a little over 400 pounds. This is right at about 2 1/4.
Now, I've definitely done, I know you haven't, Matt. You're smart about yours. I've done the wrong thing. Mine's up against the wall because I have this window. I like looking out the window. Mm-hmm. But Matt, yours is in the shop, right?
Yeah, I can walk around it.
Right. And that's the whole thing. You need to be able to work around your bench. Just pull it out from the wall. You know, once you get it away from the wall and you work around it, you say, where's this been all my life?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how much easier it is to do stuff when all of a sudden you can clamp across the bench. You have access to the other side.
Well, I think that same thought process that you just mentioned in your tools too. Like, why aren't the knobs smaller than the body? I mean, all that stuff to me just makes sense.
Right.
Now that I've seen it, I might not have thought of it myself before. I'm glad you thought of it for me so I can buy it from you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. But, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but you give me time, I'll figure it out. You know, but like I say, going back at Lee Nielsen Tool Works, just watching the level of craftsmanship of their people and the way they do what they do. Also, I took a tour over to Toss Moser's furniture. Oh my God. It's just, I mean, these are master craftsmen at work, and if you go on the tour, you're right, you almost kind of want to work with them.
Right.
I mean, it's just, it's something that just opens you. It brings you to the place of understanding that if you're interested, you can do it, but you have to apprentice yourself. And I apprenticed myself not to someone, but to all those books over there.
Right.
You know, I'm a reader, and you know, in videos and whatever it took to get to the place where I had enough confidence to say, I am a cabinet maker, I am a furniture maker. You know, I want to make something for you. And
well, I think a lot of us go through that same process.
Right. Yeah.
Now, before I forget, I don't want to. We glanced over the bow saw. Can we talk about that for a second? Because
Sure.
What is it? Why should you use it? And why should you not put it up on your wall and never look at it and never use it again? And then why is it in pieces and not actually put together? And I'll let you explain all that, Milt.
Well, first off, a bow saw is, even though a bow saw came before a coping saw, but most of us had a coping saw at some point in our life. Usually as a small kid, you had people in your family that were involved in woodworking. This is an industrial level coping saw, basically. When you look historically, this is the tool that the Egyptians used to build the furniture that went in the pyramids. Okay? They're the ones that invented this. The Germans improved on it, and the English made it almost a household item because they made a larger one, like that big one back there, for cutting logs and so forth and so on. This is not for cutting logs. This is for fine work. The blade rotates around so that you can cut vertically, okay? As long as, you know, you're doing something that's
within the
6
width
inches or length, but cut it from the other side. If you know, let's say you have an 8-inch board, you want to do 5 inches, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay, you can just go to the other side. Anyway, so the blade rotates, which means you can also keep the handle vertical, but you can cut around in a circle with the blade. Okay, you don't have to keep turning like that.
Right.
Okay, that's another thing. You adjust the tension by this little paddle here with the string that adjusts the tension. You want it tight, but not too tight, okay? Because the objective is to let the blade do the work. Now, the interesting thing is my saw has a handle on it. Very few people actually use the handle. They use the 2 arms like this. Mm-hmm. For some work, you want to use it on the push. Other times, you want to use it on the pull. Okay?
Just turn it around.
Right, just turn it around. Don't undo the blade and turn the blade reverse and just turn the handles around. Okay? Why is it in pieces? A, it's easier for me to ship. B, annually you should take it all apart and wax it.
Okay.
Put a coat of wax on it.
So what I mean by in pieces, guys, is that the sides and the, what would you call this part? The stretcher?
Stretcher.
It's a Morris and tenon joint, but it's not actually glued together. This can all come apart.
You want to take it apart?
Well, it's up to you, but it can come apart, and then you tension. Sure.
It's real simple. There you go. It's in pieces. You just unscrew the little screws here, and it takes the blade off.
And then you should re-wax the Morris and tenon joint. Everything.
The whole everything except for the blade. It just comes all apart like that. As a matter of fact, a lot of times when I carry it in my case, it's all taken apart anyway, just to save space.
And you do all the sharpening on the blades, or?
No.
Okay.
These blades are basically pieces cut out of bandsaw material.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so any TPI that you want, any width, as long as they make that material, I can make a blade for you.
Right. So you do the final shaping, the cutting
Right.
to width,
The
the
stamping,
drilling the
yeah.
holes, the stamping, and
Right.
making. So you can make whatever size bow saw someone's looking for as
Right.
well.
As a matter of fact, this is a preliminary on the
Oh wow.
24-inch one.
You need that for the logs that you mill up, Matt.
Right.
Long,
I ain't doing it with that.
wider than that.
What size do you need? We aim to please.
For the logs? 36, 42, somewhere in there.
But when you look at the
Maybe with a motor attached to it.
Yeah, no motor attached. Just those two arms of yours.
if you look in some of the older woodworking books from like the 17 and 1800s, you'll notice that they had what looked like a bow saw, except that the blade was in the middle and it was tensioned on both sides. 6 foot tall, about 3 feet wide, and that's what they used to actually do the longitudinal cutting on large timbers. But if you were to go to Mount Lebanon in Pennsylvania, is where one of the Shaker villages was. They actually have pictures of the members that they were making for the internal structure of the barns before they put the skin on it, where they were actually hewing out the logs with these big long saws. We'd have 2 guys on the end of them, and the wood would be the guys would be down in the pit, and other guys would have the wood on a pulley system. And all they were doing is going back and forth, and they just let the weight of the log come down through the blade. I mean, it's just wonderful. And those are things from my childhood. Fortunately, my parents took me to see stuff like that when I was a kid, and it just got stuck in there some kind of way. So that's how you do it.
Awesome.
So that was awesome, Milt. Thank you for showing us all the things you're working on and all the tools you have in your collection there and that are for sale. It was a lot of fun to see all that stuff. And in the next episode, guys, we're going to be doing a shop tour. Milt's going to show us around the shop and kind of give us a more in-depth look at the process of how these tools are made in his shop. Milt, how can people find you if they want to buy one of your fantastic tools?
I have a website, Swan Tool USA. You can go there, or you can reach me at info@swantoolusa.com. You can do that, or you can call me. Okay? Now, I have an answering machine. I will call you back. Usually if you call me, I'm busy. But you can reach me at 323-661-7122. Thank you.
So what's really cool about all this stuff, guys, it's made here in Milt's shop in Los Angeles, California. The heat treatments, everything is in the United States. It's all U.S. made. It's Milt doing the work, and the stuff that's really cool. So we'll definitely link everything up in the description for the video as well. And as always, well, I guess, Matt, where can they find you?
You can find me and everything I do over at my website. That's at mattcremona.com.
And you can find me and everything I do at mmwoodstudio.com. And as always, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See ya.
You guys.